Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a custom bottom sheet using React Native pen responder. In this bottom sheet there will be three snap points, the maximum height, the medium height and the minimum height, and there will be a threshold value as well. So as you can see the list is scrollable and you can drag this. The animation will be really smooth. So now let's start. This is our style start container. And this is our draggable bottom sheet. As you can see, these are the simple styles that I have added. Some basic styles, an absolute, bottom zero, some border top left and top right radius, and initial height of 200. And I've added this elevation and shadow color, which it works only on Android. So if you are using it on iOS, there will be different shadow. This is our drag bar container, so we will be able to only drag within this boundaries. Outside of this, you won't be able to drag the container or bottom sheet. These are the simple styles with 100% height and 40 and bottom top left radius, bottom top right radius. And this is our drag bar, as in that white part, that is the drag bar styles here. So these are the simple styles I've added. The elevation to only works in Android, I'm saying again. Now, this part is done. And then we come to list. The list is that list with the data is simple array of 20 elements, and it is filled with list item having simple styles, and that's it for our initial project setup. Now I have already imported some things from React Native. Now we're going to start building our animation. Okay, first I'm going to need the screen height. I'm going to use the dimensions from React Native, and I'll get the screenshot, and I'll get the screen height from using the dimensions. Next, I'll set up the bottom sheet max height. So the max height will be window height or the screen height. The screen height minus 200. See for now, our sheet max height will be screen height minus 200 will be up to this much. Okay. So next, let's get the sheet mean height. So I'll set the sheet mean height to 200 only. Now we are going to set the max y value for the sheet. So the maximum draggable y value will be sheet mean height minus sheet max height. That will be negative because as we go up, the value will be negative, and the sheet mean y uh, will be 0. Okay, so that will be our base value. As you can see, this is not draggable right now. We have not added anything. Now for animation to work, we need to wrap our component with that animated from React Native. Okay, we need to wrap our component using animated. So animated.view, we have done this. Now we're going to create the pen responder. So const pen responder is equal to user. We're going to wrap it using the user and dot current. So pen responder, I've already imported it, and pen responder dot create, and we are going to add some callback functions to it. So first one is on move should pen responder. So this will ask React, okay. So the pen responder gesture should work or not. We'll set it to true. So we are going to ask React Native, and it will say, okay, pen responder gesture should work, and it will grant the permission. On pen responder grant is another callback function. This will work after we grant the permission. And next will be one pen responder move. So this is the most important callback function. After we grant the permission, after the React Native grants the permission, the user can do whatever he wants in this callback function. It takes an event and gesture as input. We're not going to need the event, so I'll just replace it with underscore. Next, the last one will be a band responder release. So this will be our last callback function, and it also takes an event and gesture. That will be all the callback function. Of course, there will be a lot of other callback functions that you can search in the documentation and work with it. Next, I'm going to create a ref value so that on the basis of which our animation will work. So this will be our sheet ref, on updating of which our bottom sheet height will increase or decrease. So this will be having a new animated dot value of initial value of 0, and this will be our sheet ref. Next, we're going to create another ref value, last ref, which will be having initial value of 0 as well. Next, we're going to start the animation. Okay, so sheet ref will have a function called set value. So using which we are going to set our sheet ref value to gesture.dy. So the dy is the y-axis value. If we are going to work with the horizontal, then dx, and there are some other values as well, as you can see. But for our animation, we are going to only need the dy. There is Vx, Vy, x0 and y0 is for axis values. So if you need it for your requirement, then you can use these things and do all kinds of animation. And let's see how it works now. First, we're going to add the pen responder handlers to our draggable container because that's the part which we are going to make draggable. So this is the part, and then we are going to add them, the pan handlers. Okay, so okay, we're going to spread the pan responder dot pan handlers. Okay, so that's it. And now it wouldn't work because we haven't added any animated styles. So now let's create animated styles. Okay, so const animated styles equal to, this will be an object, and the height will update the height of the bottom sheet based on our sheet ref. So we're going to use the interpolate function. Okay, so the interpolate function lets us update a value based on some input value. So there will be an input range and there will be output range. And the output range will update based on the input range value. So the input range will go from max y value. So we want it to go from say minus 600 to 0 because the min y value is set to 0. So see minus 600 to minimum 600, and the output range will be moving from sheet max height to sheet main height. So the input range should always be increasing. Okay, so minus 600 to 0 as it goes. We need the sheet max height. We need the bottom sheet to go from sheet max height to sheet main height. Okay, sheet max height to sheet main height. So that's how we've set it up. And then this is the easing function, extrapolate equal to clamp. So this is kind of an easing function. Then we are going to add the styles to our animated container. Okay, like it's not working as expected. So for this to work properly, we need to add some things in our pen responder release, and those two things will be based on the last trap that we're going to use now. So first, one of the two things will be we are going to set the last trap dot current value is equal to last trap dot current plus gesture.dy. So we're going to update the last current value every time we release the bottom sheet. Okay, or you can just make it simpler like this. Let's say gesture.dy. The second part is we're going to flatten the offset. Okay, we're going to flatten the offset of the sheet ref. So this is kind of like a cleanup function. We are going to set the sheet ref offset to 0. Okay, as you can see, merges the offset value into the base value and resets the offset to 0. So in this way, we're going to flatten the offset and clean up the sheet ref. Since we have cleared the sheet ref and made it to 0, and we remember the last ref, so we're going to set the offset of the sheet ref. Resets the offset value to 0. So now we are having the sheet ref value offset as 0, and we're going to again set the offset. So if we are at point 1, then we should remember it, right? So using the last ref, we are going to, yeah, so sheet ref dot set offset, we're going to set it to last ref dot current. Next, since we've updated this, now, okay, need to reload once. Let's reload. And after the reloading of the application, you will see that the animation is smooth. And then you can also remove the initial styles now, like initial height. So now it will work without that also. And you can decrease it also. The sheet mean height you can change to 100 dp. And now as you can see, the initial height is 100 dp. But we don't really want to drag the whole bottom sheet every single time, right? So for that, we're going to create one function called auto spring. And using this, we're going to create a spring animation. So for that, as you can see, from here, if we are going to drag it, then we'll check first. And that's that dy is greater than 0. So if this happens, that means we are dragging it down. So gesture.dy is 0, that is positive, so we're going down. If it's negative, then we're going up. Please remember this in animation of React Native. So we are dragging down, right? When we're dragging down, we want it to come to minimum y value. So auto spring, we're going to send the value min y. Else we are dragging up, right? So auto spring will go to max y. So auto spring function will take this value, and we're going to use the we're going to update the last type dot current value um, to value, and then we're going to use the animated the spring function of React Native, and using this we're going to do some basic animation. Okay, we're going to update the feature value to last type dot current that we have already updated, and then we're going to use the native driver to false, set the native driver to false. We're going to start the animation. So now if you check, okay, it might need a reload again. Let's reload the application again. Okay. Now if you try this, then you can see it's going smoothly into min y and max y values. Okay. Now we want to add a threshold to it as well. So above which it will not go to the mean y or max y value. Okay, so the minimum threshold value, let's set it to 60 for now, and on the basis of which we are going to complete our animation, or we're going to stop the animation to the initial value. Okay, so we need to check if our threshold value is above this value. Okay, that we're going to first check if gesture.dy is less than equal to threshold. See if our dy value is less than our threshold or less than or equal to threshold, then we are going to cancel the animation and go back to maxwell. Simple, right? And if that is not the case, then okay, we can complete the animation and go to the minimize. Similarly here also we can do the same thing. If our similarly dragging up also we can do the same thing. Just we need to change this to gesture.dy is greater than equal to minus threshold, then only it will work. So since when we're going up, the value is becoming negative, right? So the more negative it is, like you need to reload maybe. Uh, so the more negative the value is, the lesser the value becomes, right? So now it should work. As you can see, the threshold is working. As you can see, the animation is working now, and the list is also scrollable. Now it's working, right? But we want to add another snap point, right? So there can be a minimum of two or three maximum snap points in any project requirement, right? So for our project, we're going to add a midway also. So this is our third snap point, which will be max y by 2 value. So that will come at the midpoint of the bottom sheet, right? So this will be our mid-y, and we're going to update our condition based on that. First, let's remove this one. We are already updating the last draft current value at the bottom, auto spring animation. So we don't need that. Now we're going to change the whole condition here. Okay, we're going to remove this one. Let's remove this and start anew. So we'll check first if gesture.dy is greater than 0. So if this is happening, then we are dragging down. Since below, if we're going below, it is positive value, right? So if inside that, we are going to check if gesture.dy, because we want to check for the threshold value, right? So it's less than equal to threshold. Since it's positive, it's less than equal to threshold. Then we don't want to complete the animation. Means we don't want to go to the midway or minway. So for that, we are going to check if last step dot current equal to max y, then we are going to back to max y, right? Otherwise, we're going back to mid y. So on going down, there can be only two values, max y or mid y. Okay, so otherwise, mid y. Okay, and next, if that is not the case, that means gesture.dy is greater than threshold. Uh, that means we can check if last tab dot current is exactly equal to max y, then we can go to mid y, and we can go to mid y, and else we can go to min y. Okay, from mid y to min y. But if it's max y, then we can go to mid y. Next, if gesture.dy is less than 0, then that means if gesture.dy is not positive, then it's negative, of course, then we are going up. Okay, we're dragging the bottom sheet up. Then we want to check if gesture dot dy is greater than equal to minus of threshold. Okay, so negative threshold, if it's greater than negative threshold, then we can bring it back to auto spring minimize. else auto spring max 5. But we haven't added the mid-y values to this till now. Um, as we have added above, we need to add the mid-y values here as well. So as you can see, this is working right now for us. Okay, we need to reload maybe. Let's reload and check. It's going up, it's going to mid, it's going to min y. So you can see the threshold is also working, and we're going back to max y, then going to mid y. Okay, now let's add the mid y condition here also. So if last step dot current is actually that, if last step dot current value is min y, then we are going to uh, go to min y, right? Since it's greater than minus threshold, otherwise mid y. And else if gesture.dy is that means the animation we want the animation to complete, then we are going to check if last step dot current value is min y, then we are going to mid y. Otherwise we're going to max y. Yep. So that's all the thing that we need to do. Now we're going to do a last reload and check nicely the animation. As you can see, it's a cool and smooth animation that is going on in the bottom sheet. So this is how you can create really beautiful animation. So this is how you can create a custom animated draggable bottom sheet using Pen Responder API from React Native. The animation is really smooth. You can add it in any of your projects and update it based on your requirements. So we have created the bottom sheet using three snap points: max y, mid y, and min y. And if you want to add, you can add more snap points. Thank you for watching this video. See you later.